in the dice and gamble.
Let's do it, man. Just throw those dice.
Yeah, dude.
Throw caution to the wind. I don't care.
I kind of miss the good old dice game up against the wall. I love playing that in high school. It's a ruffian.
That's right, man.
Welcome to Reformgelical, where the Reformed and Evangelicals meet. My name is Matt Williams. I am co-hosted by the great A.D. Robles. A.D., how you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was just telling you before we started that I'm going to be sweating a lot. It's not because I'm nervous. It's because I'm in Florida and my air condition broke.
I just turned my fan off so I could have a little solidarity, but it's only like 65 degrees here.
I've had this little mini fan, desk fan going, the USB kind that you plug in.
Yeah.
But it picks up on the mic, and I was so bummed because it was actually tolerable with that going on, but definitely had to turn that off for the recording. I sacrificed for all our listeners, I tell you.
We got 69 degrees here in the great state of New Hampshire, so we're doing all right.
That's pleasant. Very pleasant. Hey, Craig. Hey, Ted. Andre, welcome. Thank you for joining us live. If you guys want to be part of the show, we live stream on all our social media sites, and we get your questions in close to real time. And love to hear from you and have you guys be part of the show. We actually start talking about topics that you guys bring up. Very free-flowing thing. So thank you for all of you guys watching live, and thank you for all those who support us on Patreon. And also, for those of you guys subscribing on YouTube, even if you don't usually listen to us on YouTube, could you go over there and just subscribe to the Reformgelical channel? Because we are, I totally lost it because I was trying to do a test. We are 164 subscribers away from being monetized. Ooh. We already got the minutes logged, but we're just 100. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Oh man. So what's been going on this week? It's been kind of another crazy week.
Yeah, just a little bit of Corona, a little bit of, politics. It's all crazy. Everything's crazy.
Everything's crazy. It seems like the topics stay the same, but the severity of it and the escalation of it gets week over week better or worse, depending on how you look at it.
It seems like it was just yesterday. I was doing those black and white videos where I was in my bunker, and I'm still here. I made it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking at the Black Lives Matter idol that they were parading around.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool looking idol.
That took a lot of work. I wonder how many earrings they threw into the fire for that.
It actually looks pretty stupid. Somebody said, was it you, Matt, that said it looked like a kindergartner made it, like a toddler? Or somebody said that.
Oh, I wish I should have. It actually looks like a Marxist made it because it looks just like the communist fist on purpose. Yeah, there's I won't bring up exactly what I was talking about before, but I was talking about there was one thing that I was thinking that's pretty close to idol worship and calf worshiping. And I was, I felt like I was kind of stepping out on a limb there. But hey, 2020, you just wait a little bit, and anything that you seemed like was stepping out on a limb, it comes mainstream really quick.
I know it's very hard to speak out ahead of this stuff these days. It's like this crazy as you want to make it. The next day, it's happening.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. It's funny just like looking at the stuff that they're like idol worship. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, you'd consider that idol worship, right? Fist parading around, symbol.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely some kind of idolatry going on there. No question about it.
Have you seen anyone from Big Eva that's been telling us that we're putting country over our Christianity? Kind of repent or walk back this stuff? Or are we still supposed to support this stuff and not be Republicans?
I don't know, man. Like I feel like there's been a bit of a step backwards from that stuff as well. I saw one of the a notorious social justice warrior today, very much the kind of guy that says you can't be a Republican first, and he was saying how like what we should be is politically homeless. That's like that. You've seen a lot of people probably say that if you're not feeling politically homeless, and you've got to check yourself. But then very very Keller-esque is very popular. But then this guy, he flipped the script. He said, but be careful because even being politically homeless can become an idolatry. He's like, no, you can't win. You just can't
win. You can't win. But I just love this. I'm enjoying every minute of this because they are just in a worse and worse position. And I just can't wait for like, what's the next position they're going to come out with? Like, what is their hard stand that they're going to be calling us to repentance over? You don't really have much left.
I don't know. It's a good point. I don't know. Obviously there's definitely further they could go, but it's with Big Eva, you never really know how far they actually will go. There's always the gay stuff and the, LGBT stuff and the pedophilia stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's all the rage nowadays.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Do you think anybody is going to come out in support of that in the Christian circles? Like even the leftists of the leftists?
Yes, I do. I think what you'll get is sort of the milquetoast sort of, it's just an orientation, like they can't help it. Being a pedophile is different than engaging in sex with minors. Like, so they'll try to make some kind of weird difference between being attracted to children and actually going and doing it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the main play, I think.
Oh, it's so gross. I was seeing some people tweet about it, and they were like having constructive things to say, and they were making good points. And I'm over here just like throwing up in a corner. Like I can't even fathom it. It grosses me out. It disgusts me. I don't even know how this is being entertained in our culture.
It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But it is entertained, and it's big business, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Do you see that article about the 40 kids almost that were saved from Georgia? I think it was.
Yeah, amazing. It was
crazy,
great,
man. That's absolutely crazy. Can you imagine 40 kids in I don't know if it was a trailer park or apartment complex or something, but it's just insane stuff to imagine that kind of stuff actually goes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you did such a great video on the Joe Carter thing. And I think just that's my kind of question of like, where are you going to go next? Like, what is your big Eva stance that you're going to make that's going to differentiate you? Like, you have nothing left. Like, you have to find things that are just a bad takes. Because what position can you take that's going to be solid that people can rally behind now? Like out of all the stances you've made,
I don't know. It's just really crazy to see all this go down like this. There was a question somebody had here. I wanted to
we've got chats going pretty well. I wanted to go through these
chat's going okay. I
did not see the Democrat interview at Cross Politic, the former Democrat black man.
Wait, what? What happened?
All right, let me just read this. An interesting interview with Cross Politic and a former Democrat black man. Okay, I'm assuming he's still black, but he's former Democrat.
Former black man
who had the viral video that was spot on.
Well, actually, depending on who you ask, he is formerly black. He left the Democratic Party. I guess he's not black anymore. I was going to answer. Sorry to interrupt you, Matt. The Social Gospel Coalition T-shirt, Andre. That's from John Harris. You got to reach out to Conversations That Matter podcast. I don't think he actually sells them, but every now and then I think he'll do a special sale.
Oh yeah, he should.
He should. I don't see why not. It's hilarious.
Oh, Mark's from around the same area I am. I'm not going to give any more details because people are crazy out there. Yeah, I'm in that area. It's 110 heat index, and I don't have air conditioning right now. That's the Florida life.
We got Sean Glinsky here. Ghislaine Maxwell goes into custody and missing children start getting rescued. You're not allowed to even go down that road, Sean. That's a conspiracy theory. That's QAnon. Not supposed to do it. Joe Carter told me that if you do that, that's satanic.
Do you think that stuff is too closely related to the Democrat Party and it relates to their push of, hey, your conscience be your guide, and I can see both sides is being argued, and then because it's Bill Clinton, it's the pedophile rings and stuff.
Well, I know a little bit about the QAnon stuff, and the thing that's remarkable about it is that it is very pro-Trump, but it's definitely not pro-Republican. The people that are named in these QAnon reports, they're across the aisle, pretty much Democrat, Republican, they're all over the place. So I don't think that. And again, I'm not saying that everything QAnon says is right on, but there's clearly a problem with sexual exploitation of children in our country. There's no question about that. Yeah. But yeah, from what I understand, so I don't think like the QAnon stuff is not because it's targeting Democrats necessarily. That's not why Joe Carter's against it. But it is very pro-Trump. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's sad that the justice busting child molesters is pro-Trump and it's not pro both parties, or agnostic to parties.
That's right.
It can't be something the parties rally against. No, I am not doxing people. If you comment on the live chat, I can use your name. You doxed yourself.
Oh man, that's funny, dude.
You have to have standards to have a conscience. Yeah, I was thinking about this today. Actually, is there any value or principle that the Democrats have that they're consistent from one issue to the next. I honestly sat there for a good 30 minutes and could not think of one like value or principle that they weren't willing to bend, change, pivot from to win a brownie point, a political point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not one.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. I mean, even if you think of like the dictators in the Bible, like, King Darius or like Cyrus, all these kind of things where like the king was like a god in their culture, right? Like he was a god. Even in those cases, like the king wasn't actually allowed to break his own rule. So like, remember with the Daniel in the lion's den, right? So he makes this decree. He realizes he was duped by his advisors and he doesn't want to put Daniel in prison or in the lion's den, but he has to. He can't go back because in that culture, even though they were so twisted, they still had like a certain amount of like, we have to be consistent here. Like if Darius is a god and he says this has to happen. He can't go back on his word. So even back then they were more consistent than Democrats today. They don't even care. Like, and they don't even care what it looks like. They don't, it doesn't matter to them. No. They just don't care about that stuff.
Not at all. Because I think if there is one value or principle that they have, it's power.
It's just power.
That's what they covet. So however they can obtain that, it doesn't matter. They don't need to be consistent. It's never about the argument.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. It's just crazy how, like, you're right, Matt. It's like 1 minute to the next, one issue to the next, one day to the next. It's like, but yesterday you were saying something completely different. And, the media is totally complicit. They just pretend like it never happened and say, Trump said this today. Can you believe it? It's like, yeah, he said that, he's against, pedophiles. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
I think we have a perfect example of this, especially with the media, where we've seen the Governor Cuomo from New York walking his dog without a mask. And we have obviously Pelosi going to the hair salon that's been in the news without wearing a mask.
Right.
And there's no questioning of morality or resignations or it's just like, oh, we're going to brush it aside and we're going to still push the narrative because that doesn't fit and that doesn't help us gain power. Well,
what's amazing is it becomes a story when Pelosi says, I was set up. Then it becomes a story. See, it was evil Trump supporter, probably a racist, set her up. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so insane how that happens like that. And it's just, it's so obvious, like, what the media is all about. And so this is, it's all connected to everything right now. So like, you get a new police shooting and stuff like that, at Jump Street, the media is going to tell you whatever they think is going to cause the most chaos and get Biden elected. So you have to just slow down before you believe anything, realize that they try to trick you at every turn. You know what I mean? It's just crazy.
I know. And I think people are starting to realize it. Thanks to social media and stuff, even though we're being censored and all this stuff, and there's certain things you definitely can't talk about. Just looking at some of the poll numbers that are coming out, so it's gonna be interesting.
They certainly seem to be thinking that Trump's gaining a lot of steam. It certainly looks like he is, which definitely makes sense. But the media is crazy because and big tech as well is very crazy. The way that they just disappear people. I was talking to my brother today, and there's two people that have just been disappeared, like, completely off the face of the earth. You haven't heard from them. There's a guy named Owen Benjamin who used to have a pretty big live stream. He's got some very unapproved positions. There's no question about it. He's a troublemaker. And then there's a guy named Stefan Molyneux, and like, they both got, banned from everything. You know what I mean? They're nowhere anymore. You can't even find like people talking about them anymore. It's just like they just disappear off the face of the earth. And I really do hope that people are starting to wake up to this stuff, how dangerous that is, that you could just be disappeared and no one's ever heard. It's like, it's the memory hole. You put down the memory hole, and all of a sudden Owen Benjamin, he probably is still alive, but who knows? No one's ever heard from him again.
Yeah, I know. And like, they're kind of on parlor still. And it's funny. It's sad too, because like Stefan Molyneux is definitely someone I don't always agree with. I mean, a lot of times I do. I don't want to say like, oh yeah, I'm distancing myself.
He's a reasonable guy.
He's a super reasonable guy. And I would love to have conversations with him about things I disagree with, because he's the kind of guy that's going to challenge you, even if you disagree. And like, that's what kind of makes this country, or made it great. That's what makes your thinking, it expands your thoughts. It helps you reason. It helps you go do your homework. It's like, why are we shaming these people?
Yeah.
Why are we blocking them? It doesn't make sense.
Totally crazy. But yeah, you're right, man. It's just so funny to watch them be so inconsistent from one day to the next. It's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of the Daniel and the Lion's Den story, there's this interesting story. It kind of blew up a couple days ago, and then, we moved on because that's how fast our news cycles are going. Sorry, guys. I have no idea what happened. I think we got canceled.
That's right. We were talking about Owen Benjamin.
Yeah. Names that cannot be named.
Yeah, it might have been Stefan Molyneux, though. Yeah, that was the one.
The secular Doug Wilson's. Man, my phone blew up with people telling me I froze. Thank you, everyone, for letting me know. I really appreciate that. So anyways, back to this story. It's a Australian lady, pregnant with kids. I think she had 2 kids, posted something on Facebook and got arrested for it by the police for incitement over whatever she did. It doesn't matter what it was. I believe it was like an anti-COVID thing.
That does sound inciting.
That does sound inciting, right? And this is my question, and I think we need to start talking about, because even though it happened in Australia, I think that this isn't too far-fetched in specific states in the United States, definitely in California and whatnot. Is how do we start thinking about when we need to stop obeying these orders? Like, as these police officers, as these men, like, this isn't just.
Yeah,
you are. I think even she was like about to take her kid to a doctor's appointment or something. If I remember the video, I saw it yesterday.
Right.
Like, guys, we're getting to a point where we need to start thinking about how we're going to act when we're ordered to do things that are immoral. This is immoral.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I really hope that this is being talked about, in an organized kind of way by some of these people, the police officers, the, captains, whatever it has to be. But this has to get talked about. What you're talking about is the doctrine of the lesser magistrate, essentially. Okay. So basically, it's the idea that, if a higher authority tells you to do something that is not within, your right to do, or their proper authorities, you have a duty to disobey. You have a duty to resist. Like, it's no longer right to just obey. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's a concept that comes from Protestantism. And it's very important. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's what it's, and actually this doctrine applies to us as well, because in this country, we have our own kind of level of authority as well. So yeah, I really hope this is being talked about, but it just, history tells me that, typically they just obey.
Uh-huh. Is there certain like verses that are kind of key to this doctrine of lesser magistrates? Because honestly, I don't really know it that well. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, it's a good question.
And if you're looking it up, I will just say that I think for me, like, one of the things that is a flag or something that would make me indicate that, hey, I need to start really considering if I need to obey this command or order or whatnot, is when I'm starting to disrupt families or disrupt churches, going into spheres that are not my authority and destroying them or hurting them or damaging them for no just cause. And I think, like, in this case, you're causing stress and damage to the family. You're taking a mother away from their kids. Like, those are things that should be red flags in my mind, where I'm thinking, okay, this isn't a just order. I need to think about how I'm going to proceed and not just be like a lemon that just obeys.
Well, really, this is not any different than what we've been talking about this entire time during coronavirus. It's basically based on the different spheres of authority. That's really what it is. And so the Bible says that all authority comes from God. So it's delegated to us in different spheres. So there's a certain authority delegated to you. There's a certain authority delegated to your family, church, government, all of that kind of things. Everything has its own functions. Everything has its own limits. And so the lesser magistrate doctrine is really just based on that sphere sovereignty thing. That's really where it comes from. And so it becomes a situation. I know it's very popular for people to say, if it doesn't cause you to sin, then you must obey every order. And it's like, that's actually not how Protestants have really formulated this for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, and I think you would agree, Matt, we've talked about this many times, that's not really what the Bible teaches. Right. It's more about stay in your lane kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Stay in your lane. And there are certain things that it might be prudent to obey. Like, I don't think the government has a right to take my income just because they want to.
Right.
But it's very prudent for me to just obey that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to end up in prison.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that the government would ask me to do that I would just have to say no. You know what I mean? And so we all have to have those conversations with ourselves, but also, the police definitely need to do it, because they're the ones that are going to be they're going to be sent to your house because you posted a mean meme. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Ironically, the same people that are defunding you and telling you not to enforce real crime are going to be sending you to enforce things that aren't crime.
Yeah.
And in fact, are making you the lawless one. So you got to make a stand, man. I mean, especially a lot of our law enforcement. Let's see. Okay, we have, I think, someone from Australia said Australians are legal subjects of the government. Citizenship is something we take for granted. Okay, maybe you're American, but yeah, that's a good point. They're all royal subjects, right? And to me, that's such like a talent thing that I don't want to bury. And I know I'm not trying to put my country above my religion, or above Christianity, or with Bible or gospel or whatever. But God gave us in our time, even now, some talents of freedom and rights that are recognized, not that they're rights only to us, but that are recognized, and not fighting for those is burying them in the ground, where we will get treated like this and have been started to be treated like this. Yeah. Daniel talks about the cruise ship. That's the same kind of idea.
Yeah. No, you're so right. And I think a lot of people would say, yeah, but Matt, you have to be a Christian first and an American second. So you're just saying you got to go by the Constitution. And it's like, but the thing is, though, that like the Constitution was written and thought of in such a way to be based on what the Bible said the government was supposed to do. Right. And so our argument isn't that, okay, God says I should obey. The government has unlimited authority and I should obey everything that they say unless they tell me to sin or something. But I'm not going to do it because the Constitution says not to do it. No, that's not the argument. That's not the argument. The argument is that conception of just obey until they tell you to sin is too simplistic. It's helpful in some ways. It's helpful probably more for children to understand it, but it's way too simplistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
read the Bible, it's never that way.
And you're going to put Jesus in really bad situations because he did that very thing. Like, it wasn't sin for him not to go to Samaria, but it was still what God wanted him to do. He said he must go through Samaria. But if he was obeying the culture and obeying the religious leaders of the time, the government at the time, they would say, don't go. It's unclean. You're going to be dirty. You're going to be ceremonial unclean. Right. But he did it anyways. And it wouldn't have been sin, quote unquote, if he didn't go, except that that's what God asked him to do. Definitely.
And so there's a really good book by a guy named Matthew Truella that explains this whole doctrine about civil disobedience, civil government, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I've listened to him speak on it a number of times, and he's very good at this kind of thing. And again, it's definitely for everybody. It's for us, you and me too, even though we're not, in the government, it's for us too. But Christians, especially Christian police officers, there's a lot of really good ones out there that really need to think about this. They really do, because, again, I want to believe that it would be different in America, but I'm not convinced of that. You know what I mean? I'm not convinced that it would be. Right. I think most cops would just enforce anything.
Yeah. It's so funny. Growing up, and maybe this was just a childhood bubble that I lived in, or some kind of false security in America itself. But there were so many things that I read in history that never happened in America. No, our army would never institute martial law on us and institute things that we've seen in the past. No, the police would never arrest us for things that are against the Constitution and all that stuff. And I'm really at a point now where it's like, oh, yeah, I see how that all happens. Oh, yeah, I see how the Jews got rounded up in Germany. Like, oh, yeah, I see how a whole ethnic group got rounded up and killed. Like, there's not a far leap anymore to any of those things in my mind from what we've seen with the public, with the rioting being allowed, with the police standing down.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like it's like a real surreal moment for me where there's no like childhood innocence anymore that, oh yeah, that sin nature is going to be contained by the government. Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to see how it would be in any way at this point. I mean, yeah, that's all. I think you said it perfectly.
Yeah, it was is interesting. I think thinking about my role more, I got called out by one of my listeners at how to build a tent, and it was a great thing. I loved it. I was talking about the story. I went to get my hair did with all the stacks I got this week on my stock exchange before today it crashed. Thanks, Dr. Fauci, for that.
Yeah.
And I was going and I was telling the story about how mad I was getting about how the government rules were forcing people to have conflict and confrontation when they both agreed. I was having a conflict and confrontation. I wasn't going to wear a mask. The store owner wanted to stay in business and wanted me to wear a mask, but they didn't even want to wear masks. They hated the idea of it. And so there was a conflict between two citizens.
Right.
When we agreed, like only the government could pull that off. Right.
That's true.
And I was using my health exemption. I was like, I'm not wearing one because I have a health exemption. Because I think it collects bacteria and it lowers my pulse ox, the oxygen level in my blood. I don't want that stuff. I don't want that stuff to happen to me, and I don't want to actually get sick from it. And someone challenged me on that. It's like, you shouldn't use that and look for the loopholes, but you should be educating people on really why you're opposing it, that it is unjust, that it isn't their place. And I was like, man, you're so right.
That's fair.
Like,
yeah.
My goal was to just get out of wearing the mask.
Yeah.
But again, going back to what I think our role can be, even though we're not in law enforcement, is educating people like this, because we have to make up for what the church has not done in a long time, is preach these principles and preach where God says these things and what roles and spheres are. And so like, we can't just leave it up for the pastors to change, because that's going to be too late. And I think as us being knowledgeable, need to have those conversations like, hey, I don't want to wear one because it's unjust, and let me tell you why. And not like, be cheerful about it, be joyful, don't be hostile, because we need people to do that, to re-educate people, because there's an ignorance throughout the country, I think.
Good stuff, man. No, that sounds like you have some good listeners.
I know, it's great. I love being corrected, and that's like one of my favorite things about podcasting. There's so much like direct feedback you get. It's great. And then you get also the people that are crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Tim Keller did some math today. It was really interesting. Like he's trying to wiggle out of things so much that he's going to algebra. Let me read this tweet to you. Let me see. Okay. If someone believes X could or will lead others who hold that position to believe Y, do not accuse them of holding to belief Y themselves if they disown it. I really feel that this is a direct tweet, or what do they call it? What do the kids call it? A subtweet. A subtweet of our friend John Harris calling him out on his Marxism.
Yeah, I could see that.
But it's just such a slimy position, though.
It is.
Like, why are you? So you won't even name the names or use the terms that you're ascribing to. Yeah. You're going so ambiguous that you got to use variables from algebra. Yeah,
definitely. So can I kind of break this down here for you? Do you mind?
Please.
Okay. So I saw this tweet because you sent it to me, and I technically would agree with it, because yeah, that's true. So if I believe something, and then like downstream a number of steps that could potentially lead to a dangerous doctrine, for example, that doesn't mean I believe that dangerous doctrine. So you shouldn't say I do believe that dangerous doctrine if I specifically say, no, I don't go that far. You know what I mean? I don't think it actually logically follows. Here's why, blah, 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 blah.
And I think we've talked about that before with certain positions.
Yes, that's technically, this is a very fair tweet, but in the context that he's talking about it, that's actually not how it goes down, especially with him. So what will be said is something like this. Hey, I saw you, Tim Keller, talking about how, everyone should pay the same price no matter what. There should be no haggling anymore because we've seen that women pay more for their cars, and that's unfair. That's ungodly. And so we have to make it so it's even. That's not an idea from Christianity, Tim. That's an idea more from Karl Marx. That's a Marxist kind of an idea.
Right.
Now, what we're not saying is, Tim, you believe everything Karl Marx believed. That's what you believe. Everything. You're an atheist, Tim.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing. We're actually just saying some of these ideas that you're peppering throughout your books about Christianity do not come from the Bible. And you don't even really attempt to often make the case for them. You just say, let justice roll down like waters, blah, 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 blah. So what he's trying to do is say we're doing something we're actually typically not doing. Mm-hmm. We're not saying, hey, that's a dangerous belief. It could lead to Marxism. Therefore, you're a Marxist. Right. It's the same nonsense that they pull when because some people will defend themselves this way. I can't be a social justice. I'm not a cultural Marxist critical race theorist because I believe in God. And everyone who came up with critical race theory was an atheist. It's like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
Like, you could call me, like, if I had beliefs that were like very typical for a Nazi, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't do the Heil Hitler. I didn't like Hitler, but I believed everything Hitler said.
Right.
You would be well within your rights to call me a Nazi, even if I could turn around and be like, well, I've never even worn a swastika. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's stupid. It's a stupid way to think. But technically the tweet is right, but it just doesn't really apply to him and the way he's often criticized.
Well, it's not right in this sense because you got to fill in the variables.
That's right. That's right.
Like, the variables will change the equations.
Yeah. That's right.
It's like saying Margaret Sanger wasn't a Nazi, but she believed in eugenics that were kind of a foundational principle of Nazis.
Sure.
So you could say, like, yeah, maybe she wasn't technically a Nazi. She wasn't part of the Nazi party in Germany.
Sure.
But she carried on the ideas of it that were very Nazi-esque, and she believed in purifying the races. The thing that we kind of are negative about Nazis about.
Right. And the thing is, like, I see this all the time with certain kinds of people, and they're like, well, technically, Marxism is identified by 6 characteristics, and Tim Keller doesn't believe this one. Like, it's just like, okay, we're not talking in precise ways. This is not a dissertation. I'm not trying to get my PhD. I'm not trying to be a scientist. I'm just trying to comment on one idea of his that doesn't come from the Bible. It comes more from a Marxist perspective, which he admits often in his writing, how influenced he was by some of these Marxists. So it's like, let's stop playing. Like, I really hate when smart people pretend to be so stupid.
Right.
There was a guy who likes to comment. He likes to message me on Facebook, and often it's just the most obtuse stuff. And it's just like I just told him today, it's like, can you stop pretending you're obtuse? I know you're smarter than this.
Right.
And it's just like, I just can't stand that. And so that's kind of what Tim's doing here. I agree. This is a very much a defense of his own positions, but he does it with X, Y's, and Z's. And that's just not helpful for anybody.
Yeah, it brings more ambiguity and brings more fogginess. And that's like the last thing we need right now, because it's not just fun and games. We're not just at a university country club, sipping our gin or whatever we're drinking, but like, there's actually a war going on right now. A spiritual war, a civil war. There's tons of wars going on right now, where you don't need variables. We need specific clarity and leadership. Yeah,
I really wish he would just specifically defend himself. If that's what if his goal is, just say, okay, here's why it doesn't apply to me because this blah, 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 blah. I don't even know what he would say, but that's just it. It's just so silly. Calvin says X plus X equals 4.
Or does it?
Solve for X. I can't anymore.
I know, right?
I used to be able to, but now I can't.
Yeah, totally. Sean says the Nazis learned eugenics from American progressivism. You are correct. And also propaganda, too. They learned propaganda from us. Little fun fact. I'm part of
Impossible.
I know, right? Impossible. Americans are perfect. But wait, we're supposed to be the ones that put America over country. So I can't say that. I'm part of a Discord group. I don't know if you ever heard of Discord. I haven't heard about it until like 2 weeks ago. And someone had this great term, and I'm not exactly even sure what it means, but I love it so much because it can be applied to so many different ways. And it was the radical middle. Like, so many times we talk about the what? Do you not like my that term, radical middle?
Go ahead. Keep
okay.
Keep talking.
I'm going to try to turn that frown upside down, sir.
Yeah.
We hear so much about the radical left, the radical right, but the radical middle, and I think they're people just like Tim Keller who are trying to play the middle game, but are actually radical themselves and put out radical ideas. And those are the people that we need to coin and peg because they're not helpful whatsoever.
It's the worst.
They're the worst.
Yeah, they're the worst. That's why I made the face, because I cannot stand the middle ground people that they just put this air, this false, like, I'm just ultimately reasonable. The truth is somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like I hate that, because it's just like it's so often actually not the case that the truth is in the middle, but it sounds like it's always the case.
Right. There's like some virtue in the middle.
Yeah.
In and of itself.
That's right. That's how it's always presented. That's the principled, sort of nuanced, careful, kind of thing. And it's just so rare. Maybe never. I haven't really thought this through, but it's very rare that the truth is in the middle. It's just not really ever the case. I mean,
right.
You got, okay, so should the government steal from you to give to the poor? No, there's no middle ground there. It shouldn't. Right. But they want to make it seem like, yeah, but we got to still care for the poor somehow. It's like that, but that's not the middle, though. Yeah. This frustrates me in the Calvinism debate more than anything, because someone's like, I understand what the Calvinists, I understand what the Arminians are saying. The truth is somewhere in the middle. That's not possible.
Yeah. No, it's logically not possible.
Logically not possible. And if you want to be stupid about it, I would say that the Calvinist position is already the middle position. We both have a free will. There you go. How do you like that? And it's like, but they never want to do that. It's just always it's always just like this. They're pushing radical stuff, but they don't want to commit to it. It's like, like Tim Keller pushes socialism, but he doesn't want to commit and just be like, I'm a socialist. I'm a socialist. I was influenced by these Marxists, and I'm just a socialist, and that's just it. They very rarely want to do that. Yeah. But increasingly they are doing that, but very rarely they do. But they're still pushing it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's frustrating.
Speaking of a radical middle, another one is our good friend, who's not really our good friend, Albert Mohler.
Oh,
and when I mean not good friend, I mean we don't know him. You don't know him, right?
I don't know. I don't think he would ever talk to me.
This has been so frustrating to me this week. Is people have been like lauding him and oh my gosh, he's finally speaking out about social justice because he is on doing a podcast series or something to that effect with James Lindsay, who has been warning people about this critical race theory and all this stuff for so long. And it's like, you guys, he's just playing you. And it reminds me so much of how Republicans get so excited about the Supreme Court picks. Oh, this guy's really going to change it and all the rulings are going to go our way. And then it's always disappointing. It's like, do you not remember just 2 months ago when he fired all these conservatives from his seminary? Do you not realize that Matt Hall is still a provost or whatever? Like, who cares what he says? Who cares what podcast he's on? Who he's on co-hosting with or guest starring on?
It's so stupid.
What is he doing?
It's so stupid. It really is just so stupid. I mean, it would be, I just can't even put myself in this position where the example I used was about Roman Catholicism. I don't have a seminary, but I was trying to think of something like I do have control over. Like, let's just say all day I was like talking about the dangers of, I don't know, DuckTales. Like it's pumping the gay agenda, and it's just so dangerous. It's the worst. And then like you found out that I bought like DuckTales videos for my kids or something. Yeah. And I had DuckTales themed party for my 1-year-old, and like you'd look at me like, and I did my podcast, but on my podcast I was like, I brought in the expert that said that DuckTales was actually influencing your kids to be perverts. Mm-hmm. Like you would look at me and you'd be like that's, your words don't match your actions at all. Like right. what are you saying? And I would have no credibility if I did that, right? None.
Or it'd be like, for me, and I think like you too, like if you found out our kids are going to public school, like
right?
How much we have, how much we have said, get your kids out of public school.
Right.
bashing the public schools and
Yeah.
all those things. And then you found out our kids are going to public school.
Yeah. Yeah. You should never watch us again. Why would you?
No, you shouldn't. And what's so frustrating about all this and what's like driving me mad is there's people that know what he's done and know what he's doing and are still excited about this. Like it's some kind of breakthrough moment for him.
I don't get it. And then, this is what you get. This is the super frustrating thing. And we were just talking about stop pretending to be obtuse. So like, this is what you get. You're like, but AD, this is an encouraging development. Like you have to understand, like, why don't you just be nice about it? Why don't you just accept it and take it as an encouraging sign? And it's like, no, because I'm not stupid.
Right.
Because he does this often. He talks and talks and talks and talks, but all his actions are the opposite. So it's like, it happened back in Resolution 9 times. Remember, a couple days after Resolution 9 passed, he didn't say anything on the floor. Nope, nothing. He didn't do anything when it mattered. Because if Al Mohler gets up and says, this is a really stupid resolution for these reasons, it's dangerous. By the way, I'm the guy who did the conservative all his resume like he always likes to do. Yeah, right. Probably it wouldn't have passed. Probably it would have been at least closer, maybe. Yeah. Right? But no. He didn't do that when it would have counted, when it would have mattered. No,
he
instead,
wasn't standing with Tom Askell.
No, he threw him to the wolves.
Yep.
He threw him to the wolves. And so then a couple days later, he gets on his pod. This is a very dangerous doctrine. Documents. It's just like, come on, man. Like, I'm not stupid. This is not my first rodeo. And it's like Christian charity does not require you to check your brain at the door. Like we need to be more street smart than this. Yeah. It's not like this is. I think sometimes people get the impression that guys like you and me just woke up one day and said, "I'm going to be against Al Mohler." No, it's not like that. Yeah. It's like we've seen the movie 100 times, so we know what this movie's about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I mean. Right. And maybe Al Mohler will change, and that'd be great. That'd be great.
I would love it,
but I need to see some action, not just words. And it's just especially annoying when Christians have been making this case that James Lindsay, he seems like a real cool guy. I would love to grab a beer with James Lindsay one day. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
He seems like a smart guy, got a good head on his shoulders, all this kind of stuff. And I don't have a problem with an unbeliever coming on Al Mohler's show and saying things about critical theory. No problem whatsoever. No. But what's frustrating about it is that Christians have been making this case and speaking loudly, people that are in his sphere of influence, he knows about them, and all they get is shade thrown their way. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you can't be stupid about this. Like, I'm great. A lot of people heard James Lindsay talk about how dangerous critical theory is. That's wonderful. But it actually doesn't help our cause if we're never actually going to name names and attach the theory, which is James is very good at, mm-hmm. to the actual names, which James is also very good at, but he doesn't know the people in evangelical circles. He doesn't care about the church so much.
It's not his business.
It's not his business, so he doesn't care.
Right.
So that's why Al Mohler did this, by the way, because he knows that James Lindsay doesn't know who Beth Moore is. He doesn't know who Jarvis Williams. He doesn't care about these people, and he shouldn't. Why would he? So he knew bringing James would get him a little credibility on the conservative side, but all his people would be safe. No one would get shouted out. And that's why he did it. Let's not be stupid about this. He's not changing anything. He's going to continue to do what he's doing. And that's that.
The radical middle.
This is a political move. It's like a photo op. It's like what everyone was criticizing Trump for with the Bible in front of the church. Remember that? The picture he took? Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, it's just political, it's just a photo op. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what a politician does. And that's exactly what Al Mohler did with the James Lindsay thing.
Yeah, let's be honest. When you're at Al Mohler's level in the institution he's in, you're a politician.
Yeah.
You're a politician.
Yeah.
And like, if you weren't a politician, you would have Tom Askell on to talk about critical race theory. He's in your organization, in the SBC. He's been the one warning about this stuff. He had the movie about it. He was the one fighting Resolution 9. Why didn't you have him on?
Right.
Because it wasn't politically expedient.
No, but what was politically expedient to do with Tom Askell is to throw shade his way and be so concerned about, I can't believe how they characterize other Southern Baptists, like throwing shade every opportunity you have. That's what was politically expedient for Tom Askell. So it's like, it's a shame, but it's not unexpected. You know, you can't get too upset about it because this is what he does.
I'm not upset about it at all.
Yeah.
What's upsetting to me is the people that are putting hope in him. And I've been thinking about this a lot too, because I try to figure out people. I'm trying to figure out why people do what they do. Like, why are people so excited that he finally had James Lindsay on? And I think people on our side, the people that know that critical race theory is a danger, we're looking for champions and feel like we need that.
Yeah.
We feel like we need an Al Mohler or we're not going to win.
Yeah.
And guys, as long as we trust in chariots and horses, we're not going to win. We don't need it. We don't need Al Mohlers.
Yeah.
We don't.
I think
the SBC might burn, the organization might go down, but we just need to trust in God.
Yeah, man. I think you're what you're kind of describing is almost like a pressure release valve. So it's like you've got all this pressure. You see this insanity going on with Black Lives Matter. Everything's just coming to a head, it seems. And you're just building this pressure. And if you ever played with a pressure cooker, you click the valve and it just goes, psst, and it's like instantly all the pressure comes out. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happened with Al Mohler doing this. It's like, oh, okay, pressure's off all of a sudden. Now you don't have to do the things that you probably should have done for a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's no way to look at this, man. James isn't going to save you. That book's not going to save you. I see so many people. This is what I see. Matt, I know you see this too. So many people that are these fence sitters that aren't doing what they ought to be doing, aren't naming names, aren't, essentially calling people out and dissociating themselves with some of these folks. They're not doing that. But what they will do is they will show a photo of their desk with James Lindsay's book on it and their cup of coffee right there, like they're doing their devotionals. Yeah. And they'll say, this book is so great. It's so encouraging. I couldn't give it a better recommendation. I've seen that photo probably 10 times from people that I know this is dangerous, but they don't say anything. Mm-hmm. They don't want anything to do with a guy like me. You know what I mean? So like, and I've also seen that photo from people that are doing the right thing. So don't get me wrong. If you've posted a photo like that, I'm not necessarily talking about you, but I've seen it from these fence sitter types. And it's like a pressure release. It's like, see, I did my duty, did the photo. By the way, here's my pink iPhone that I got.
I love it. I'm so excited about it.
Anyway, so I've seen it, man. It's like a pressure release valve. They think, look, I've done it. I've done what I need to do. No, you haven't done what you need to do. Mm-hmm. The Bible talks about exactly what you need to do. And the reality is, if you're a pastor especially, you've got to protect your sheep, man. And your sheep are learning from people that are pushing the doctrines that James Lindsay lambasted in that book. And you know it. And you need to point that stuff out so that your sheep are protected from people that otherwise they might think are okay, because they're on all the same platforms. They've got all the same guild memberships. They got all the same recommendations in their book. And probably even some of your favorite theologians have recommended their books. So you need to protect your sheep by naming names. Doesn't mean you have to hate these people, but you do have to say, that what Eric Mason's teaching on this, that's not going to fly in this church. You can't do that kind of stuff. You can't teach white foolishness is the problem for black's curse. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that because that's actually sinful. And if you want a book to understand the theory behind it, where this comes from, where this doctrine comes from, here's a good book by James Lindsay. By the way, you should also pick up Tom Askell's book as well. Well, I guess it's not just Tom Askell, but you know what I mean.
Bunch of people. Yeah.
So that's the thing, man. It's like a pressure release valve. That's what it was. That's why you get all these photos from these fence sitters, how great this James Lindsay book is, but they won't, with a 10-foot pole, they won't touch by what standard. They won't do it. There it is.
Here's the book.
Buy that book. Buy this book.
Look at all those authors.
Because these men are actually, I don't know that they do that in the book. The book's not really about calling specific people out, but they are willing to do it if it comes down to it. Buy the book, man. This you don't need to just go to the atheist that'll give you the safe version where he lambasts the theory, but he doesn't name evangelicals because that's not his thing.
Right. It's the radical middle. And even I was going to kind of go into this, but I just will touch it briefly, is like even Al Mohler is even playing the middle with voting Democrat or Republican.
Unreal.
And to me, it's the same mindset. It's the same principle. He's playing the middle because of his politics. He's being the politician. But just like it is sin to vote Democrat solely based on the murder of babies, the theft of our money, and all those things are also other cases you can make.
A million
things. And then the things that aren't sin are terrible still. They're just because it's not a sin doesn't mean it's not terrible. But the social justice stuff, like, we got to stop treating it like it's just another side of the debate. It's an academic discussion. This stuff is sin. You're causing people to have partiality. You're causing people to hate each other. You're causing division. You're causing people to be killed in the streets. This is all packaged with it. And when Al Mohler will not take a stand against this in actions or in comments in the case of the voting Democrat,
right?
Like, he's not on our side.
No.
And we need to start addressing these philosophies and these people as sinners that need to repent, not as rational people that need to have a discussion with and show them a logical argument for why they're wrong.
Yeah.
We got to confront them as sinners.
Yeah, absolutely. If you aren't willing to take a stand, and I'm not saying like this is not an aggressive, guys. Like, I know this is talked about as if it's the most radical thing ever conceived, but it's not radical to say it's illegitimate. It is sinful for a Christian to support a party whose one of its primary tenets is abortions. It's illegitimate. If you can't take that minuscule kind of that's a milquetoast stand, because you're not actually doing anything aggressive there. It's just, no, we're not going to put up with people who vote for a party that wants people to die for no reason. Mm-hmm. If you can't take that stand, then you can't take a stand against anything. Like, murder is just about as bad as it gets, especially murdering babies. So, like, I can't think of something worse. Like, what would be worse than that? Murdering babies just for the fun of it, just because you want to. Like if you can't do that, then how could you, in your right mind? It's just like what you said earlier with Democrats. There's no consistency to it, because these same people would want to hold on to the idea that you could not vote for a neo-Nazi. They would want to hold on to that. No, you can't vote for a neo-Nazi, but you can potentially vote for a baby butcher, right?
Right.
So there's no consistency to it. But once Al Mohler does that and says it's a matter of conscience, then what isn't a matter of conscience for a Christian voter?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's not the same. This is the false equivalency. Well, it's the same thing with Republicans. You're voting for more war and stuff. No, that's not the same thing. No. Because though I don't like war has a legitimate place. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing at all. Murdering babies never has a legitimate place.
Yeah. War
does. And so you might disagree with the wars in the Middle East, and so do I. Most of those wars are just nonsense. We shouldn't have those, right? Mm-hmm. But number one, war does have a legitimate place, and number two, both parties love the war. So it's not like you know what I mean. So you can't have it both ways. It's just it doesn't actually work that way. Mm-hmm. So. It's crazy. I can't imagine how he could conceive of this, how he holds this together in his mind, that somehow I don't think it would be legitimate for a Christian to vote neo-Nazi party, but it would be legitimate for a Christian to vote for abortion party. It's bizarre, but again, it's politics, because you're not going to come off looking like you're not going to be popular if you take the stand that I just said. Right. It's not a very regressive stand, guys. It's not like, I don't know. I know I'm made to feel like it's aggressive. It's really not.
It's not at all.
Basic.
And this is the thing. And let me say this first, is what I'm about to say is not me saying, therefore, vote Republican. You don't have to vote for either party.
Oh, of course.
But when you are aligning or making allowance for the ability to vote for the Democrats, who, like we just said, kills babies indiscriminately, in some politicians' minds, the governor of Virginia, after birth, infanticide, like after birth, you can kill them, to people taking God out of the Pledge of Allegiance, taking God farther away from our country, to having Bill Clinton in your conference, in your convention, while the Jeffrey Epstein pictures were coming out of him with minors and young girls and all this stuff. If all of these things still make you think that you can rationalize and make an argument for voting for Democrats as a Christian, you're blinded by idolatry. That's the reason it doesn't make sense to us. It's because you're blinded by idols, and you need to repent of those. That is the only reason that you are acting so foolishly, is because you've been made dumb by the idols you're worshiping. And just like I said, like voting for Democrats or the critical race theory thing, it's a sin issue, and you need to repent of it, man.
Yeah, man.
You're not acting rationally. You're not seeming wise. You're not fooling people. You got to repent.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, it's very true. It's very true. It's all kind of interconnected. It's always like making room for more and more wickedness, essentially within the church. All of it is doing that. The Marxism stuff, the critical theory stuff,
Yeah.
the abortion stuff. It's never for some reason. It's just never actually. We need to revisit being a little more strict on some of this stuff. It's never that. It's always making more room for perversion, essentially.
Yeah,
And it's sad, man.
isn't that the exact same pattern of sin in our own lives?
Mm.
That when we have a little bit of sin never says, we're good with just those pictures of porn. Maybe we
Right.
should go back and just watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, now we need the next step. And isn't this the exact same pattern that we're seeing at the national level? Like, don't you recognize what sin is doing? It grows and grows and grows. It takes more and more and more, and it causes more and more death. And there's no rationalizing with it. There's no playing with it. There's no like, we could justify this little bit of sin. Like, it needs to be cut off. And we're not doing it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
The last thing I wanted to go to a comment that kind of relates to this is, who was it? I think it was Betty. And that's all I'm going to say, because I'm not going to, dime you out.
Don't do it. Don't dox her.
I'm not going to dox her. Women have been taking the woke starter pack for a long time from Beth Moore and her gang. And I just want to make this point again, because it's kind of been on the background lately, but this is all the same fight. They are on the same team. They're integrated. They have the same objectives, because it's not any individual thing. It's the power grab that they're going after.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all the same goal, and it's to fundamentally reform the entire thing into, I don't know, the world's image. I don't know really whose image they want to reform it into, but it's basically what do they call it? Breaking down all the hierarchies, all the hierarchies, and it's just like that's not biblical, but
no, that's anti-biblical. That's because those hierarchies were created by God in a lot of cases. The ones they're tearing down are family, government, churches. Those are all God created institutions. All right, I want to end on a little high note, because this was kind of a serious Reformgelical. How do you feel that you had an episode with Eric Mason where the world just blew up with great memes all through the internet this week? It was fantastic, man.
Those memes were really good. I've seen some good memes. I've seen some good video cuts. That one video cut where he's like, gold, and it's just like, psh. That was a good one, man. That was so good.
They're a fan of yours because they combined the Eric Mason and the Ghostbusters videos and put them together.
Man, that's too good. That is too good. And then somebody today, there's a video, my video today where I said I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin. I prefer gold. And somebody made a video where it goes, gold, hallelujah.
Oh, it's so great.
But it's good stuff. No, it's I'm glad that those memes are taking off, man. Listen, those memes are more powerful than you know. People are going to be like, well, where does this come from? What is this about? And more people are going to hear that sermon than would have otherwise. I mean, look at his numbers. They're really not that good. I mean, I think that sermon was probably the most popular sermon he's ever had. You're talking about 1,000 views, something like that. And not much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the memes have gone way further than the sermon ever could. And I personally want to draw attention to it because it's a very good wake-up call sermon for people that haven't really paid attention, don't really know what's going on. They'll get woke from that sermon in all the right ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a pretty intense one. I think that the one after the one last week was even better for that.
In the parking structure or wherever he was.
Wherever he was. Yeah. So I'm not going to do a video series on that one, but it's good. It's good that people are seeing this. It really is, because here's how I view it. I'm a good Calvinist, right? People that see that, they're going to be fooled by it. Nothing I can do for people like that. But the people that see it and they're going to say, wow, this is how far it's gotten. And they're going to realize that Eric Mason's connected to all their faves, and it's going to mean something to them. It's going to be like, how did this happen?
Yeah. And I think that's a good reminder. We're not responsible for the results. We're responsible for faithfulness. Be faithful, be obedient, trust God with the results. That's all you need to do.
Amen. Good stuff, man.
All right. Yeah. Great show. AD, thank you so much. Guys, please go over and subscribe on YouTube. Help us get to that 1,000 mark so we can be demonetized.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We won't be monetized. We'll be demonetized.
We want to be monetized and demonetized in the same day.
Right. You can go over to patreon.com/reformgelical. Hey, I got it right on the first time that time. Saying good night for AD and myself. Have a good night. We'll talk to you next week.
Adios.